Good evening, shortcuts. This is video 1 for November 1st. For those of you who are new to this, the price list will go out at 9 p.m. sharp Wednesday, November 1st. And this is the first list, and I'm calling this list a premium list. For those of you who have been watching over the last few weeks, I've had quite a few $35 lists. This one won't be like that. This one will be the opposite of that. I've been saving up some really special pressings and records that some of you might be interested in as, maybe Christmas presents or even presents to yourself, because some of these are pretty special. Nearly all of these are unique. I don't think there's a single record here that I've had before in this particular list. And it's quite different to some of the things that some of the lists that we've been seeing over the last little while. There's a few Japanese records, but they're Japanese records with a twist, and there are others that you will not have seen before. Where to start with? I struggled, but this is where I've settled. So, one of a very, 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 very good friend now who's a club member, he came by on the weekend yesterday to pick up some things, but also we spent some time playing a very special pressing that he has that I'm going to talk about in a future video. The record we were playing was Dark Side of the Moon, 50th anniversary and all of that. And I've hinted that I'm going to do a ranking of pressings that I've been familiar with over the years. And that is a work in progress, but it's coming soon. The engineer, producer of that record was a guy called Alan Parsons. He went on to produce a whole bunch of other records, and he was invited to be the producer for Floyd's Wish You Were Here, but he declined because he started his own band, the Alan Parsons Project. And in 1977, they released a record called I, Robot, which is one of the premium prog rock records that discusses in a really quite intelligent way how technology was going to shape our future. Every song on that record had a leaning toward almost a kind of a spiritual treatise on what it is to develop the world in such a way. And it's a really melodic and interesting record and very dynamic and has a special place in a lot of people's hearts. It was a massive hit all around the world, and you can get copies, pretty good copies in most countries for not very much at all. But you can't get this. For the first time in Shortcuts history, we have an Ultradisc one-step mobile fidelity pressing. This Ultradisc one-step pressing utilizes MoFi's newest technique for eliminating noise floor and creating the best possible records. There's a description on their website. It's kind of unusual. It talks about creating a very delicate transfer, which eliminates the need for the negative pressing processes. So typically, pressing vinyl is a 3-step process. This is a 1-step. The reviews of this are incredible. So that's why I decided to get one. This is my copy. And, oh my God. It is amazing. It is, for those of you out there who have invested in, a system that you're proud of, that you've built over the years, you need to have at least one Ultradisc one-step in your collection. And I know there's hype there because and I'm talking anti-hype against MoFi, because it came out in the last 12 months that there's a digital step in this process, the 256 I think it's kilohertz DSD file that they create off the master tapes. Now, there's literally hundreds of hours of YouTube footage about this, and I could care less. I'm trusting my ears, and my ears tell me that this thing is outrageous. And the great thing about this record is it has this deeply melodious bass and keyboard shimmer that's through it. It's not as good a record as Dark Side of the Moon, but then, I don't think anything is. Man. Now, the wonderful thing is I got these copies through some people at half price. And so I'm passing that saving on. It's to buy them from mobile, it's $100 plus postage. It pretty works out about $150-$160, which is about, I don't know, $250-$300. This is going to be pretty much exactly half of that. So it's a bargain as well. The only issue, as you can see here, the sleeve, the plastic seal has just come off a little bit on the corner in transport. But other than that, the record is mint. What a present that is for someone. Enjoy. Okay. One of the pleasures that I take out of this little endeavor is introducing you all to bands that I love. And they're not necessarily bands that are in the mainstream. And there's a German prog band that I'm sorry, my computer's dinging at me. Let me see if I can fix that. There we go. There's a German prog band that I've introduced a few of you to, and I know that because you've given me some feedback, called Jane. Terrible name, amazing band. Now, one of you picked up the rather amazing Land and Sea and Water recently, which is their 4th or 5th album. But what I've got here are the 2nd Jane record and the 3rd Jane record. Now, interestingly, this is a US first press, and this is a German first press. Now, there are some interesting differences. Firstly, look at this amazing kind of typical prog sleeve, all sorts of weird and wonderful things. Very, very lovely. But this is pressed on the Brain label, and you can see there my favorite label. This is the green variation, which is typical for the German first press. And this is on Capitol. The US first press is on Capitol. Both of these are immaculate. They sound amazing. The only reason I'm letting these go is because I've got many copies of these records, and I know that there are people out there that are getting into this band, and they're really hard to find, especially first presses, German and US. So let's talk about the differences in these records. This was their 2nd record. Their first record was called Together. They had a vocalist, very, very good vocalist, very well regarded in Germany, like a lot of German prog rock bands. And there's another one I'm going to talk about in a second, the infamously named Grobschnitt. They sing in English, and often without an accent too. It's really amazing. This particular variation, this is for their 2nd record. Here we are. New vocalist, a new bassist, and what you get in this record is this incredibly melodious sound. It's so lush. Is electronics and keyboards and things. The opening track is worth the price of entry alone. It's called Red Skin, and it's 9 minutes long. Unfortunately, like all these things, you have to go to YouTube. You can't Spotify this music. It is so beautiful, and the only reason that I can think of that it's called Red Skin is at a kind of 6 or 7 minute mark, a female vocalist comes in making what sounds vaguely like Indian noises. Other than that, There's a kind of a dismembered male voice at one bit, which is actually really cool. Very, very, very prog. And then it followed by this ballad called Out in the Rain, which is about 6 minutes long. And it's the first introduction of the new vocalist, and it's magnificent. And you can hear how they're laying the path for what's to come. I love this record. I love this band, and this is brilliant. Now, the transition from Here We Are to Jane 3, look at that sleeve, is guitar. In this record, two guitars, two lead guitars, often dueling with each other. So prog. It's like, I guess, how you move from kind of starting the car to driving the car. This is where they're figuring it out. This is where they absolutely bloody nail it. And here's the weird thing. I can't decide which I like best because they are so different. Again, new musicians, like almost like a new band again. Two new musicians in this additional musicians. Oh, I could talk about Jane all night. I love this band. These are fantastic records. And I added this one in. I've got a couple of copies of this. They're from, they were West German. What a terrible, terrible name. Grobschnitt. And this is called Rock Pommel's Land. This was their most well-regarded record. They went for ages. Again, German prog, a little bit more krautrock in this band. And they also sing in English, but this is more how you might describe like orchestral prog, so very dramatic, lots of swells, and there's a story about a boy flying on a paper bird, and it's bollocks, but there are these amazing little guitar passages and little things where I just think, they're just beautiful things. And I know punk had to come for a reason, but it wasn't because of these German bands. These German bands were bloody great. So there you go. Again, now this time, the Brain label. This is the classic Brain label. Look at that. Absolutely brilliant. The Brain label just delivers time and time again. Rock Pommel's Land. And two brilliant records from Jane that you can investigate prior to Wednesday. All right, let's talk about a record that's very different to what we've just been describing. This is a white label promo of the first Tubeway Army record. This is the record that was released prior to the more famous Tubeway Army record, which is called Replicas, which has got, Our Friends Electric and records like that, and amazing songs like that, very synth-driven. Prior to that, they released, I think it was like a really limited release, almost, I don't know if it was a cassette or something. I remember it was some weird format, and it sold out, never charted though, and Replicas became a big hit. I think Our Friends Electric may have went to number one. And then they went back and redid the sleeve for this record and re-released this record. And this is the sleeve that they came up with. Very different to Replicas, although you can hear, again, the path forward. Because this is truly a new wave record. And you can hear the punk influence and the guitars in some of these songs, especially on side one. This is a great record. If you haven't heard it, I do love the story of how Gary Newman got his name. I think he was Gary Webb, and he thought that's not going to work for me. So he opened the phone book, and he's told this story. I can only believe it to be true. Opened the phone book, and he found a plumber called Arthur Neumann, Neumann. And he thought, I'm going to drop the E, and probably not going to pronounce it German. And I'm going to be Gary Newman. And so a legend was born. Now I have some Vinyl Me Please records. So a few of you signed up to the club because you can get 20 Vinyl Me Please records for $37.50 with that link I sent out the other day, which is remarkable value for money. I want to show you a couple of things, though, that are a little bit rarer, a little bit more interesting than just the typical Vinyl Me Please stuff, which is fantastic, but these are special, hence why the premium list. A while ago, on a Reddit forum, there was a debate and a vote on what was Vinyl Me Please's greatest ever pressing. And this is the record that came out on top. And it was not a record that I was familiar with. I bought a few copies. There's a club member who's got a copy waiting just down the hall. And it is this. It is the Vinyl Me Please exclusive 45 RPM double LP of Fiona Apple's Tidal. So I'm having listened to this a few times now. I'm at a loss for words because there's a drum sound on this record that is unlike any drum sound I have anywhere else in my collection. It's an immediacy and a drive. I don't know how it was recorded. I don't know how they mastered it. I know it's 45 RPM and you can really hear the detail and the space. Her deep voice sits on this piano layer with this driving rhythm and these incredibly moving on occasion songs. It is the definition of a grower. I literally cannot wait to play it again. It's 20 years old, maybe more. I don't know. When was it? Mid-90s? Yeah, 30 years old. 1996. It sounds like it could have been released yesterday. She is a major talent, and there is a reason why this has been voted Vinyl Me Please's greatest ever exclusive. It's really... anyway, again, I could talk about that all night too. Off the back of a bunch of Vinyl Me Please stuff in the last little while, I've been getting into this era that they've been exploring, which is the mid-70s era of rock music in, believe it or believe it not, Zambia. Zambia became independent, and their new president, I think it was a president, independent from Britain, anti-colonial sentiment, and he said, only Zambian music on the radio. But these bands had grown up listening to Jimi Hendrix and Cream and Eric Clapton and the Blues Breakers and Jeff Beck, etc. And so they were into fuzz guitar and drums. And this was kind of the first band to kick it off. They're called The Witch, and this record is brilliantly named Introduction. This was made in Zambia in, I think it was 1972. Which standing for We Intend to Cause Havoc. Marvelous. And so this is fuzz rock, plugged in, band playing live, the space, you can hear the air moving. So Vinyl Me Please did a box set, which is super hard to get. But a while ago, they released some spares. So you can see there, it says Vinyl Me Please Anthology. So this is one of the records from the anthology. It's sealed. It's absolutely marvelous. I'm running low on time again. This is my favorite Vinyl Me Please record this year. It is a psych Latin rock masterpiece that I had never heard of. It's called Acid by a guy called Ray Barretto, and you can kind of see him playing drums there. Oh, and there's the artwork that's with it. It gives you so intense. And this was the 55th anniversary edition of Barretto's Latin Soul Classic, AAA lacquers cut from the mono master tapes by Ryan Smith of Sterling Sound. Oh my God, it's phenomenal. And this reminded me of another kind of Fania Latin soul record that I thought I would put in the list. Eddie Palmieri was a Bronx-based pianist, but he loved Latin soul and salsa, and he made the string of records in the 70s with these incredible driving rhythms. That's him there, look. But what a sleeve. And what a mad sound this is, because by the late 70s he was mixing Latin soul with these disco themes. So every so often you can just hear how this becomes disco. It's really, really cool. Well worth exploring. Oh my gosh, I can't believe the time we have left here. I'm going to talk about I'm going to cut this list short. I'm going to talk about 4 more records. One that you know I love, The Man Who Sold the World, David Bowie's 3rd album. Absolutely phenomenal sounding Japanese pressings. This is The Width of a Circle. The opening song is like 9 minutes of pure prog madness, and it gets better from there. If you don't know this record, please explore it. I also have my personal favourite Bob Marley record. This is on the Trojan label. This is his, I don't know, 3rd or 4th record. This is African Herbsman. And part of the reason this is my favourite Bob Marley record is it was produced by Lee Scratch Perry. And also, Lee Scratch Perry has this underlying kind of dub weirdness that you can hear. So even though the Wailers are delivering these incredible harmonies over the top, this is the full Wailers band before Bunny left and others. So the harmonious singing is just so beautiful. But you get these little just wobbles of dub and Lee Scratch Perry's just amazing production skills underneath it all. And he wrote a number of songs on this record that he redeveloped for later records. So Lively Up Yourself was redone. I think it was on Natty Dread. Kea was redone for the live album. And probably one of the more famous, All in One was redone for Exodus as One Love. And so this is look at this. This is great. This is reggae music, and that is the way to put it. This is reggae music. Is the birth of a genre by a true legend. And don't buy legend. Buy this. It's better. All right. Now, one of the things I love about early Japanese pressings for records that they loved in the 70s is that they had a unique ability to press on colored vinyl and have it sound utterly magnificent. And I have 2 examples here. One is a British rock band called If. This is brilliant. You can probably I don't know if you can see with the lights, but it says If and it says 4, but this is basically a mirror, and then you've got this amazing hard cardboard gatefold. But look, pressed on Capitol Records in this magnificent red translucent vinyl. It sounds crazy good. A lovely symphonic kind of prog rock record as well. Some of it recorded live. Well worth exploring, and just a fabulous sounding record to blare out of your system. And then finally, probably the ultimate Japanese colored vinyl. This is absolutely superb. A really, really cool live record, of course. Queen's Live Killers on a hard cardboard gatefold once more. If you remember the tape, because I had this on tape, and the same thing, they had a green tape and a red tape, and in this case they have a green and a red kind of inserts, and you can see hear the story, pretty much the story of how these songs came together. And all of this leads to this. You have the green translucent disc and the red translucent disc. Utterly magnificent. Sadly, rare, therefore hard to find. There are no, in inverted commas, bargains on this list, but there are really, if you look closely at how hard these records are to find and what Shortcuts will be doing. There's some people are going to find themselves with some pretty magnificent records that will not be in very many people's collections. This is why this is the premium list. If you've made it this far, thank you. As always, please like, share, drop me a comment. Let me know you're out there. I enjoy doing these videos, but I enjoy it more when I get some feedback. Would love to hear what you thought of this list. And thank you, as always. Without you all, this wouldn't be possible. So I will hopefully talk to some of you soon and see you all on Wednesday. Thanks.